Okay, everybody. Once you've got over the issue of thinking to yourself that the instruction booklet of the cards is clear, true, perfect in every possible way, and you've got to rely upon that, then you're on the way to basically a new path, a new destination of understanding. Okay, there is a great merit to getting your little US game systems instruction booklet and reading through it, and just thinking about how the tarot has been constructed perfectly to be a mirror of the mind, a mirror of the body, a mirror of the being, your aura, your chakras, the levels of your understanding of everything, and all the levels of spiritual signification which comes out in the tarot spread points to something. Okay, it's like an indication, but it's not telling you word for word what's happening. So if I was to do a spread right now, okay, it might give me, a certain number of thoughts and feelings as to something happening in the world. That's true, but it's more a question of what question is put to me, and that's in relation to the symbolism in terms of what I know about everything, the geometry, the symmetry, the colors, the interaction between them all, and the more specific mystical symbols which you might see at various different places in the cards themselves, which actually helps to provide more elaboration. The connection with astrology, some people believe in astrology, some people don't, that's okay, but the connection between the meanings or the energy of those particular symbols and the nature of the inquiry is what's really most important there. So if you're someone who has an inkling about, or a curiosity about, or an understanding of tarot, and you want to just try and get deeper, you've got to do it, and you've got to do it properly. You can't just sit back and hope that some clever person is going to fill you in with all the information. It doesn't work like that, and that's why it's such a lifelong study to try and build you up to the point whereby you can actually read the cards. And all kinds of strange things happen. If you are someone who's interested in tarot, then you're someone who's probably interested in a generation of some variety of strange experiences associated with spiritualism. And it's from that which comes out of your meditation practice that other things start to occur and provides you with greater depth and greater meaning and greater elaboration upon the whole thing. Precisely what does something mean in relation to something else? Why have we got a certain number of energies coming out in this one particular spread, for instance? What is it trying to tell us with relation to everything else which is flowing through me at the moment? So we're talking about, I'm given a question, okay? I'm given a question by someone. I've got a feeling for their energy through their phraseology, use of words, use of language. That triggers a number of divination instincts inside me as to what's going on already. So that's the first stage of the reading. The second stage of the reading is, I get the question, I lay down the spread, and then I've got a number of different aspects or avenues there, which is helping me to try and get somewhere and to build things up to the point whereby I can actually provide an answer. So, I've got the cards laid out. It's got a message in its own right. Okay, there is a story to be told, but what the story is depends upon who I'm speaking to, or who's speaking to me, I should say, as well as everything else which goes on during the reading experience. I mean, I've had moments when I've done a spread for someone, and it was literally a spread about something quite basic and boring. It was like, will I get a new car within the next few months? And so I laid out my spread, and I suddenly heard the word in my head, infidelity. And I thought, why am I hearing the word infidelity when this is about a car? This is about transport. I should be seeing signs associated with movement and travel and destinations and aspiring for something, or all this kind of material world life aspects. But yes, I heard this word infidelity, and so I said to the inquirer, precisely, how are you getting on with your partner? Precisely how are you getting on with your partner? What's going on there between the two of you? And that was actually the most important thing I could have said on that call. And the reason for that was because there was problems going on. The reason the customer needed to have a car was because there was about to be a big breakup because things weren't working out well. She was actually more worried about where she would be living, who she would be living with, how would she be able to get there. And so the question was essentially a way of leading on to something bigger and better. Now, why did I personally, out of all the other readers that you've spoken to during that particular year, hear the word infidelity and somebody else didn't? I don't know. But there's a reason for things to happen in a certain way sometimes, or so it seems. So as a result of that, there's more levels to this than just the psychological. Experience testifies to it absolutely perfectly. But it's like a growth of understanding. You start off on a very basic level, as written down here. I mean, what's it going to say about? Here we go. Ace of Swords. This card represents the first of a mixed elements, and the result of the union of water and air. And you could go on with that. All right, but I've learned through certain mystery schools, because that's where I came from, and that gave me the foundation to be able to expand onto like a new and a bigger level, so that I can then connect ideas in a greater way. Some people talk about pareidolia in tarot readings. Well, maybe there is a pareidolia component to it, because that's how you learn. When little children are, in a playground and they're learning, they're experimenting with life and the rest of that. When you're going to university and you're starting to connect ideas, there's a pareidolia connection to absolutely everything. But also the inquirer can also pick up ideas. Alright, as a result of pareidolia, we can use pareidolia constructively. That is if it is just a question of pareidolia and talking therapy. Now, talking therapy as far as tarot is concerned is important, but there's a difference here. We know one side of things, you've got counseling, which is basically when the counselor sits down and shuts up and the client does all the talking. And then with tarot reading, okay, it's the other way around. Now, in both cases, that is, again, if we're just seeing this as being talking therapy, okay, the tarot reader spends his time talking. In both cases, there is a blank sheet being created, a blank sheet of understanding, and then from that, the client then builds up an understanding and finds a solution to their problems. That's quite easy to understand for anybody, okay? So it can either be done through silence, or it can be done through talking. As I'm sure you can tell by this one particular video, talking is something that I'm not actually all that bad at. And therefore it's important for me to use the right words, use the right impressions, just discuss with the client the things which are important and make sure that they understand from their own frame of reference what is the next course of action that they can take to try and remedy a difficult situation. Sometimes people come to me not for action, but for understanding and guidance, okay? For understanding, I think it was in the Matrix movie, you got Neo going to the Oracle. All right, and the Oracle says to Neo, you didn't come here to find out about the future, you came here to find out why these things are happening. And people come to me for a similar reason, to sit down, to think, to try and work out in their own frames of reference, how these things occur. Because once you've got that, then you're okay. Then you can just think more about the importance of life, what's really important, where you should be focusing your attention, how you should be going through the process of dealing with this. I mean, people are crazy, people are difficult. Alright, this is the one thing that we're not trained to understand in our school days, is human beings, alright? We're told, you go to school, you learn about life, you learn about people, you learn all these wonderful things. But you think to yourself, is that really the case? And I would actually have to argue, not necessarily, and you can get very disappointed with the education that you get in school itself. Alright, it may cause you to slow down in other areas of development. You see, the cards are telling the story, if you know what I mean. And so, why are people not taught about people? I mean, maybe it's the educational system itself and its designers who don't actually know how it's done, causing strife and struggle. And when strife and struggle is caused, there's a conflict situation which is generated, alright, which takes you away from your level of groundedness, causing more psychological problems which can occur later in life. Alright, which means that you would otherwise be cautious about things which you end up being rather gung-ho about. You end up being gung-ho about things you should be cautious about. So you got your prudence, your caution the wrong way around. So once again, the cards are telling the story for me. You see how it connects. So, if you want to have a pleasurable life, you need to develop the understanding that you need to overcome the obstacles, overcome the issues, and generate that positivity in a clear and true way. Now, there's a good reason why tarot readers have always been consulted, and I mean always been consulted. Going back to whenever we started to have tarot, and even before then there was cartomancy, and even before then there were diviners. Why? Because we're the people who can help you. How do we help you? We listen, we talk, we interject, we communicate. We have a flow in communication which is about solving problems. And it's about solving problems because people can't solve their own problems unless they're given that space in time, either through counseling or through tarot reading, to be able to look closely at what's really important in life. Okay, does that make sense to you now? So the people out there who are saying like, why do you do this stuff? You just, you're stupid. You're a con man. No, I'm not. The whole point of this is more complex than you could possibly understand, and more complex than I can explain in a short video, even if I am talking 10 to the dozen and getting all excited about what's happening in a reading spread in front of me. Okay, so I'm available for calls. Yes, my prices have gone up recently, but that's a good thing, because I want people to value my service and not treat me badly, and I want to make sure that I'm treating you well and I'm giving you the full concentration. And basically, during the times when my cut was only about 10 or 20 cents a minute, I really found it very difficult to be able to provide people with the quality of dedication that they need when I was perpetually worried about making a living. So that's why my prices have gone up. And let's be honest, over 8 years on Keen.com, to be able to survive and pay your bills during all that time, it requires a few gifts, alright? It requires a bit of skill and overturning defeats. It was hard for me in the old days. I didn't even have time to have a good shower in the morning. I had to maximize my time logged on, because if I didn't, I would not be able to afford to live. And I was living off rice at the time. Things were that tight for me. Things are a little better now, yeah, but it ain't perfect. So get on the phone, speak to me, and we'll talk more about your life and your life situation. Pick up a card at random, there we go. And we'll give you the victory in your life that you so deserve and require. Follow the link below, follow the link below, follow the link below.